friends, and welcome back to the YouTube channel. I'm going to be doing something a little bit different today, and I'm going to be sharing with you some of my thrifting finds. I know a lot of the things I talk about on this particular account are usually more photography related, body image related, mindset related, and whatnot. But thrifting is one of my other favorite passions, plus the ability to take the things I thrift and turn them into items. And so I want to bring you along for that journey as well because it's nice to have different creative outlets, and who knows, maybe it'll inspire you as well. So if you are an avid thrifter, feel free to comment below and let me know what has been some of your favorite thrift finds. And I'm going to explain to you kind of what I was looking for, what I do currently look for, and what I'm going to do with them. All right? Okay. So while I'm getting my stuff together, let's see, there's so much. Okay, so I just went to one tiny Salvation Army store that was downtown right beside my doctor's appointment. So I popped in and I found a treasure trove of awesome stuff. So first things first is this blouse. And now I'm not a huge blouse wearer, but I've always liked, I think it's like an 80s kind of situation. Well, definitely the pattern is very 80s. But this kind of cut always looks good on me, so that's why I like it. So the fabric is kind of silky, satiny, whatevs, but it's kind of fun. And what I want to do with this is pair it with a pair of high-waisted black dress pants for a photo shoot, a black and white photo shoot. So I'm very excited about that. So when I do that, you obviously will come along for that as well. Okay, what else did I find? So one of the things that I'm into right now, after having seen this done on an Instagram post, is buying up old embroidered linens like tablecloths, what do you call this? Tablecloths, place settings, napkins, handkerchiefs, pillowcases sometimes, in order to create a mishmash of things that I can turn into a dress. And so that's what my project is going to be that I'm going to take you along with. And I found some of the most amazing things. And get this, $1.99. So like the linen is so beautiful. It's got this like really cool texture. I don't know if you can see that on there. Really cool textured embroidery. There's lace inlets, which is beautiful to let the air go through. And so, because I'm going to Mexico in a week, I want to make myself a lovely white little dress that is made entirely out of linens, embroidered linen. So we'll see how that goes. But I found a bunch of these. Let's see, are they all the same? I haven't actually looked at them. I just felt them and went for it. So they're all slightly different, which is even better because then it creates a really cool patchwork effect. And then making the dress is quite easy. And I'll bring you along for that. So if you're interested in sewing, I'm just going to show you how I do it. It is not the only way to do it, but it is the way that I do it. Okay, then I found this pillowcase that has like a little scalloped edge plus a little blue embroidery, or kind of periwinkly. I don't know if you can see that. It was probably washed with black fabric and then it turned blue. But that's going to make a really beautiful skirt piece. So basically, that will become one panel for the skirt. So that's that one. All right, what else did we find? Like so many good things at this thrift store. Again, another, it looks like oh no, tablecloth. Another really cool textured tablecloth with the little holes in it. So sometimes when I get these bigger pieces like this, I'll probably end up cutting this in half. So that way it creates two panels that I can stagger. So it's not just like one big block, but I can stagger the aesthetic throughout the dress. I think this is the same. Yeah, this one is the same kind of thing. So that gives me 4 panels already, which is really freaking cool. Like, I could make a whole dress just from the pieces that I got here. Oh, there's even more. Hold on. Well, this is the bigger one. So this is a full tablecloth. Those were 2 little tablecloths. So yeah. So this is a fuller piece. Oh God. Can you see it? Massive. I literally can make a whole dress just out of what I just showed you here. And that is so cool. Because each of these were, this bigger one was $5.99, but all of these smaller ones were $1.99 or $2.99. And so for all of this to make a dress for a plus size woman, it will be less than $30. That's amazing. Now, I did find some other really cool pattern stuff that I think in the future will make for a cool dress because it's got a really nice print on it. So this is a pillowcase, but check out that beautiful print on there. I think this, and it's got the like ruffly edge, like that's going to make a really beautiful dress. And so there was one of those, and then one of these, another pillowcase with a different kind of print on it. So now the important thing is when I buy these is that I wash them. Make sure that we get any smells out of them. Sometimes make sure if there's any stains on them because they are tablecloths to try to take care of those as much as possible. Now the other thing that I purchased, now this is, I don't think this will fit me, but I thought of it for a photo shoot. It might be cool. It's like this blouse with shoulder pad sleeves, but it's sheer. And so I think it could be really cool for a photo shoot. Just the texture alone. So I have to think about like how I want to style it. But sometimes when I'm looking for garments for photo shoots, I like to be completely out there, completely weird, because that's where the inspiration comes from. So we will see what kind of photo shoot I can create from this very interesting embroidered number. Okay, and then after that, it was mostly just sweaters. I found this cool sweater. Very like 1980s computer teacher. This is what I'm feeling. Did you ever watch Camp Nowhere? That was like one of my favorite movies. And when they dress up like the computer teacher, this is the type of sweaters that they wear. But I love it. It's so cool. And we're in that favorite time of year now where the weather is very gloomy, and I love it. The other sweater I got was this really beautiful pink crop sweater, which I think will be super cute, and you'll probably see it in a video because I like to wear these types of sweaters for videos because they have texture, but I think for a photo shoot also, it's a really nice color. What else we got? Okay, so those were the two sweaters. I found, oh yes, another tablecloth type situation, a runner, I guess. So that is all of these white pieces. We're going to cut them and kind of place them in a way that I can create panels to make a beautiful dress for myself that is made entirely out of tablecloths, napkins, pillowcases, and really beautiful linens. So let's go get to that. Okay, so what I'm trying to do right now is just kind of visualize what it's going to look like. So I want to lay out the pieces that I currently have and see where I might need to fill in other pieces. So that way we can make a like that. Yep. So this is just part of it, of course. So the top, this piece here, we're going to make as probably the top. I'm going to use the underside of this pillowcase to be the lining for this. I'm going to cut this piece in half and use the back of this, because it's kind of boring, to be the back of the top for this. Then I'm going to sew together the different, like handkerchiefs, tablecloths, things like that that I have, and combine them with the other pieces that I have already collected to put all this together and make it into a cute dress. Then I gotta figure out like what I want to do for straps for the top. But overall, I think this is gonna look good. I think that's always the initial report. I think it can look good. So it's all about using that little noggin and imagination. So I do have still one more piece or two more pieces. No, one more piece here, like the big piece. Um, that I had here, which again, I might just use to create the back, like the lining for the inside so it's not completely see-through. So I'm not quite sure yet how I want to utilize this. But I have some other pieces from other tablecloth downstairs that I'm going to kind of put into this mishmash here as well. So yeah, so let's head down there and see what we can create. Okay, so I went and got the other pieces. Whoops, sorry. Hold on. There we go. Stay. Give me a minute. There we go. Okay. So I went and got some additional pieces that I had downstairs from past things, tablecloths and linens. So we can start adding to the collection here. Now the thing is, I really I kind of like that there is no colorful embroidery, but that may have to change unless I can go find more. But I do have this big patch of fabric that I had previously turned into a robe and then cut into for my other dress that I made. So we're going to cut pieces of it out so that we can make panels with it as well. Because it has that same vibe of, it's still white or linen colored, but and has embroidery, but it's not, what do you call it? It's not colorful embroidery. So I want to kind of get it so it's around the same length, quote unquote, of all these other pieces here. Just to kind of start building out like how long I want the skirt to be. Because the last few dresses I made were maxi dresses, so they were quite long. But I don't think I want this one. I want this to be a shorter dress. Okay, so there's this guy. He's cut. Beautiful. I can cut these ones now. So that way I have them ready to go. I can see how many pieces we actually have. And this is one of the fun things about old fabric. So you can just rip it. Right here. There we go. Okay. So you're going to go up here with this guy. Keep the lining or with the top. So that way you don't see my knit box. Okay. Then this guy we're going to cut in half as well. So we have a back to the dress. A back to the top, I mean. Now these ones are a bit harder because they have the lace, so you can't really rip as easily unless the lace doesn't cut across the seam. But in this case, it does, so you have to go ahead and cut that out. Okay. So this guy's going to go here. All right, can you see it coming together? This guy's going to attach to this to make the top. You together. That's our top. Very nice. Now, this guy's got to be cut in half because he's got extra pieces. Let's cut him. And I probably will be on the hunt for a few more pieces, maybe, to keep the integrity of the, the, the what do you call it, embroidery and stuff like that. So I don't have to use the other ones, but we'll see. I still have some other pieces here I can add to. So that goes there. Now we've got this piece, which can also go on a side, which we have over here. So this might be at the back. We'll add him in over here as well. So he's not as tall as I would like, but we have extras that we can add in. I like his scalloped edge, so that's what we want to keep. At the bottom. Okay. Good so far. Whew. We have this piece here. Right. We'll add this guy probably somewhere over here. You can't really see at the moment. Let me turn. So I'm just building out the skirt, essentially. That's what's happening right now. And then we have this big guy that we just cut out. Okay, so maybe we'll hang on to him as an extra for the moment. This guy's coming in hot. It's one of our pieces. We're going to put him there. The pillowcase at the back. So then we've got a square here that we can add in. Oh, there we go. Let's put that. So we've got this little piece that we can add on maybe in the middle. I'm just trying to stagger it, remembering that this is all going to come around into a circle at some point. So, yeah. So you are not long enough to be anything like that. So put it out onto this guy. Okay. So basically what I'm doing is just kind of like mixing and matching, which is what we're going to do actually right now. What I'm going to do is take one of these is going to match with this guy. I'm going to put these together. That is for the most part. I'm going to keep that at the bottom. So let's see. So it really does just become a bit of a puzzle to try to figure out. Ooh, this is not ugly. I'll figure that out. Okay. Go here. Okay, that's not tall enough. So we do like it this one. We're going to go verticals here. Verticals. But again, what that leads me to be able to do is cut this guy so he's the same width as that guy, which is good. And what I'm doing with the leftovers is I can use them for my straps if I need to. Just gives me extra fabric. There we go. I'll just put those for there for now. But I think doing it this way is going to be beneficial to kind of mix and match our fabrics a little bit. So I'm going to eventually get to pinning these together so that way I can sew them, but I need to see it. Basically, I'm the person that needs to see things laid out first. Okay, this guy is going to come in hot. I'm going to put you there, coming in that. So, check this deal. So this is also why I literally, never throw fabric away because you never know when you're going to need the scraps or when they'll be useful. Okay, so we've got that. I'm going to put that on there. There we go. It's never going to be here. All right, it's coming together. I think we need one more panel, which we do have with the, we might need a few panels actually. But it's coming together, and I like the staggering of it. That makes me happy. We maybe just need a bit more. But again, I have this big piece that I can use if I need it. to add in more panels. I think we can start pinning. Because once I see how big that gets, then I'll be able to put it together. Yeah, let's start pinning. So, okay, so the first thing is making the rectangle panel. So this one I don't have to sew together because it already exists. So I have to sew these two and these two together. Like, sew these two first, sew these two second, then sew those together to make one big panel. But I have to start first with this guy. So what I'm going to do is cut off part of his bottom because he doesn't really need it. And it's just going to create excess fabric, which I don't want at the moment. So then I have to think about, like, how do I want to sew this? Do I want to sew on the top? So you might see the thread, but then you get to see this part. Or do I want to make it a seamless kind of thing? I think I want to see this. So I'm going to pin it just like this, and this is how we'll sew it. There's the end. We'll go as far over. We're going to use him as our guide, the big guy. Okay, so we're going to pin him together. Right sides together. This is the song I sing to myself when I'm sewing. So I don't forget. For example, is this the right way? No. See, I already fucked it up. Look at that. Here we go. Right sides together. In this case, we're doing the not right sides together. We are doing the back of this guy to the front of this guy. Now, doing this on a rug is not ideal. Depending on the rug. But that's okay. We'll make it work. Don't you worry. Okay, so we're going to pin this guy in. That is step number 1. Get our panels paneled. Okay, I'm also going to cut up here, so that way he's not as long as he needs to be. And he doesn't have to be this long. That's okay. There we go. Good enough. Beautiful. Okay, so we're going to sew that one. Take that down to the old sewing brigade. Now this one, we're going to do the same thing, just opposite. So it's going to be this side, the top is going to come down, the back of this on the front of it. Now you just do it. Yes. Okay. I think this is going to look awesome. Okay. You never know until you do it, you know? Oh boy. Hard work. Ain't for the faint of heart, let me tell you. Right, and then last one. Okay, so then once these guys are sewn together to make 2 panels, then we can sew them together to make one big panel. Then we sew them onto these panels to make a very big hoop. Essentially, once we have the hoop, then we're going to create a basting stitch, which allows us to pull in the waist so it pinches in, so you can't see, pinches in here, so that way we can sew it onto the top, which we have to put together as well. Okay, so let's start with these first, because again, I need to visualize what it's going to look like. Once I have that visualization, once I can see it, the spatial reasoning isn't my friend, so I have to see it out loud. That's the other thing. I have to see it to believe it. So I'm going to do that, and then we'll come back and put them together. Okay? Okay, great. There we go. That sounded better. Yeah, that's much better. Okay, so round 1 is complete. So my dresses tend to have a lot of fun seam situations because I don't really stitch rip them out fully, but it's fine. It's art. It's like embroidery, right? Now the other thing is I don't have white thread, so I'm using peach thread. But I think it'll make it pretty. See? You won't even notice. It'll be nice. Okay, Number two. Here we go. Number 2. Turn it around. Now this one shouldn't be as bad. It doesn't have as much lace that it's going through, so hopefully it will be more of a seamless operation. But you never know. Fabric be fabric. That definitely sounded much better than the first time. There we go. We've got our 2 panel boys. Ta-da! So now we have to sew these together. So when it comes to sewing these together, we have to again think about how do we want to position them, and like what goes where kind of thing. So I think for the sake of ease, we are going to do right sides together. So that way, yeah, I think that's going to be our best bet here. Right sides together. Even though we'll be missing out on one of the scallops, I think it'll be better in the long run for us to do that. Well, let me think. Or could I do it this way? Let's see. Let us see. What do we got? So we've got that goes there to there. So I think this is shorter than this guy, but that's okay. So we want to start, I always start by pinning the bottom first, because that is the part that's most important to be intact, and I can always remove a layer, remove stuff if one of these is longer than the other, which it looks like is going to be the case. So let me just think about how I want this to look. I think if we do this, then this will come across like this. Yeah, I think. Or we've got messy on this side, messy on that side. Well, either way, I have to run over some things here. So, okay, let me think. What do I want to do? There's so many options. Okay. I changed my mind. I'm not gonna go right sides together. I'm actually going to go so I can keep the scallop all the way up to the top. That's what we're gonna do. Okay, here we go. Oh, shit. Oh well. Okay, there we go. We've got 2 panels sewn together. Beautiful. Now we get to add these onto the other panels, then do the top, and sew it all together, and see what we've got. Okay, so the skirt is now intact for the most part. So now we have to do the bodice. Then we'll attach this, make a basting stitch along here, so that way we can pinch it in and add it onto the top. So let's get to work on the top. Okay, so for the top, what we want to do is take a measure around our bust. So take a tape measure, go around the widest part of your back and your boobs, right where the nips would be. Okay, so mine says 57.5. And you don't want to pull too tight, but you want it to be tight enough that it's not going to like move around too much. So I'll say 57.5 for mine. So we want to take 57.5 divided by 2 to get our front and our back measurements. So if I do this, 57.5 divided by 2, that brings me to basically 28 3/4. So this is how long my front and my back panels need to be for it to fit around my chest comfortably. And so I'm going to measure the fabrics that I have, and if I have to add panels in to add more length, I can do that.
I think I might be fine. In fact, I might have to take in one of the panels, but we'll see once we measure it. I should mention as well, when you're doing this, you want to add about 1 to 2 inches for seam allowance, depending on the type of seamstress you are. For me, I would rather have more room than not enough, because you can always take it in later if need be, which is usually what ends up happening for me, but I like to play it safe. So when I had 28 3/4, we want to add 2 inches onto that, so it would be 30 3/4 would be the total measurement of the length of fabric that I need. So that's what we're going to do. Okay, so you can see here the part that I wanted to use for my front is, it's a bit longer than my actual front measurement. So I will have to cut it in, and I'm probably just going to cut off these embroidery pieces so I can use them in future garments if I want to. But yeah, that seems to be the best case here. There's going to be a little bit of the edges of them, but ultimately I really just want the scallop. Okay, so now that I have one basically prototype cut out, I can use that as the measuring tool for the other pieces. Because again, I'm going to probably need a lining for the front just so you don't see my nips through it. As well, I'm going to have a back panel, obviously, to keep the back of the dress up. So I can use the piece that I just created to make, to be the ruler essentially for the next piece. So that's what we're going to do now. I'm just going to lay it over top of the piece of fabric that I want to sew onto, and then cut with that as my measuring tool. Da, 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 da. Perfect. Get the old sizzles. Here we go. And then we're going to cut one more side, cut off some of its bits. So you can do a complete rectangle across if you want. But they sometimes in patterns they recommend going down a little bit in the side, so where your armpit would be. So I'm going to look for that. So once I have my center point, what I want to do is figure out how wide of a neckline do I want and where do I want it to start dipping down into the armpit. And you can see I'm doing this on both pieces, the back and the front, so that way they are equal. And yeah, let's just do that. Okay, I just realized something. I have a pickle. If I want to keep the scalloped edge of my top, how am I going to sew in the lining? This is where my lack of spatial reasoning comes in. I think if I just sew it a little bit lower and then fold it over, that should work. How it will look, I don't actually know though. There's only one way to find out. Okay, so I got it figured out. I do have to sew that, but first I have to cut the parts that are going to be under the armpit. So what I've done here is I've marked 5 inches from the center point, which is right here. So 5 inches this way, 5 inches this way, because I want a 10-inch neckline. So from there, what I'm going to do is take this and bring it down about 2 inches. It doesn't have to be super long, but just long enough. And so that's going to make the space for where it'll taper down under my armpit and then come back up on the back side. And then we'll do the same over here. And then we'll cut that out and then we'll get ready to sew. Now we got to figure out for straps what we want to do, because I need to put the straps in before I sew my lining to my front piece and the lining to the back piece. So I have to create the straps, slide them in, and then sew across to make it stick. So I have to figure out what I want to make my straps out of. So something that I like to use for straps is something that's already sewn. So I'm going to use the seam of this. I'm going to cut off a part here where it's like kind of lacy. I don't know if you can see. So this whole tube is already essentially a strap ready to go. I just got to make sure I have 2 in the same length. Because if I only have 1, then I'm a little fucked. So we'll figure that out, but it'll be good. And how you can measure straps is going to be from where you want it. Now, straps tend to fall off my shoulders because they're a bit more slopey. And even though I have broad shoulders, straps, like even this one, is falling off. So mine is going to be in a bit more. So I'm going to measure up to the highest point and then just times that by 2 Again, is this the right way to do it? Maybe not, but this is the way I do it. So here we are. Okay, so we've got 11 inches up. So that means I need a 22-inch strap in order to do this. And again, we're going to add on some seam allowance because I need to tuck it in a little bit to sew it in that way. And let's see what we have. So 22 inches. Perfect. Look at this. 22 inches. Doot. Perfect. So I might leave one of these edges on just to have, or both edges on, so then that way it leaves it. And I have 2 of these, so this is the perfect strap, and I don't really have to do as much work, which I like. Okay, so once you have it sewn, then you can decide how you want to, like if you want more or less, like if you have to take it in. So like for me, I'll probably have to take it in a few inches on either side. But overall, it's looking pretty cute. I like it. So now it's time to fix the skirt to the bodice. But first what I have to do is create a basting stitch that goes across the top so that way it can pull in and make a little, basically ruffle it up so that way the skirt can pinch into the waist size and be a bit more flattering. I hate that word so much. But you know what I mean. Okay, don't mind my mess. But anyways, so now what I have to do is fix the skirt to the top and then sew it together, and then it should, in theory, be done. Though I'm running low on thread, so that's making me a little nervous. But what we want to do is put our right sides together. So the right side of the bodice and the right side of the skirt together and sew it that way. So I have to make sure that this is in fact facing the direction that I want it to, which it is. So looking at this now, I think I should have done it that way. But anyways, that's okay. This is how we learn our lessons. Okay. So I have my bodice the right way. So now I'm going to take my skirt and make sure it is the right way, because sometimes when I'm doing patchwork stuff, the outside can look like the inside. And I'm going to feed the inside of this around. Now, normally what I like to try to do is affix a seam to another seam. Just, it's easier for my eyeballs to know what the hell I'm doing. So that's what we're going to give a go for today. So let's give her a do, as they say. Okay, nobody says that except for me. So here we go. We're just going to pin, pin, pin. All my pins are over here. Oh, so let's bring some over. Oh. But then we should be done, which is kind of cool. Then we got a dress. And that's exciting. Okay, so once this is done sewing, then it technically is finished. Except for like the cleanup stuff, you know, like what I'm doing here, you know, clipping little threads, etc., etc. Now the hard part here is making sure we are coming in deep enough. I can do it. Okay. I think we're good. We're gonna get to sewing the last little bit.